What's happening, Queen?
Hi, how are you?
How you feeling?
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. I can see you. I like the setup. It's like at the dojo type of thing. It looks good. How's your morning going?
Pretty good. Pretty chill today, I must say.
That's what I'm talking about. You're taking a break from the road right now, or because I see you have a bunch of dates out.
No, not really. I have like a week off, but I have to attend a wedding, so that's sort of disrupting my rest. But I'm back out next week in Florida and then Raleigh and so on and so on.
How's it been lately with jumping back into the scene for you? Has it been feeling different? Has it been feeling more or less the same?
Back into the scene, you mean as in after COVID?
Yeah, post-pandemic. Like, do you feel like comedy has it changed a lot from your perspective?
No.
Okay. It's more or less the same type of thing.
Well, I can only speak for me, I can only speak on my fans and my shows and what I'm doing. So for me, it's the same. I'd say maybe the crowds might be a little lighter, but I blame that on club promotion, not on pandemic and not on my popularity. Just a lot of the clubs don't do promotion. They just make us do it all, which we're about to start having conversations about that because the clubs really don't do a lot of their job. Like they don't, they don't do crowd control. Like if you're black and in a white club and you're loud, somebody's gonna say something. If you're black and in a black club and you're loud, ain't nobody saying nothing. And then it's up to the comic to say, hey, can you keep it down? We shouldn't have to do that. The club should have people to come and say, can y'all keep it down? And then that's how confrontation happen. But it don't happen with me.
That's right. I mean, I agree because I actually was a door guy at a comedy club. I actually worked for Rick Bronson. You probably been to the House of Comedy or something like that at one point, but I worked the door there. And yeah, we would tell people to be quiet. But I mean, so basically they don't help you promote the shows as much as promoters in the States because like, are you talking about social media ads and stuff like that, like on their part?
No, they don't do a lot. They just post you on their site, but they don't do a lot of radio. I mean, I like to go into town and go do radio. I think radio still helps. I don't care what nobody. I don't care how many podcasts, how many websites, web shows, webisodes. I think radio is still great. And I think radio is still a great medium because people are in their cars a lot.
Absolutely.
And they're not watching that type of stuff in the car. They're listening to the radio. And I just love radio. I've always loved radio. So I take issue when I have to go to towns and they don't have any radio set up for me, through my publicist like you did, or if they don't have anything but just, your face on the website. Like, don't just assume that my face on the website is going to draw. Like, let's help because I do Instagram posts. We boost them. I do verbal invitations and all that stuff. And I'm like,
you got to get on that. Are you on TikTok?
I have a TikTok, but I'm not active on TikTok.
I think Luenell could take over TikTok. I think that's what the people need.
Yeah, if I had time to sit around and TikTok, but I think it's a little juvenile for my taste.
Okay, I hear that for sure.
I like to watch it as entertainment, but that's like telling George Wallace to get on TikTok. Like, what?
No, that's true. Yeah, it's definitely not like anybody needs it when they're selling out clubs and doing all this stuff. But I mean, I think it'd be very cool to see. I wanted to ask you, by the way, did you get?
I actually want to be a little more involved on TikTok, but to have to sit and post it and do it myself is like, I got other stuff to do. So if I could just make one and send it to my new social media girl, and she put it on there, maybe. But just sitting around with my phone in my hand is not what I always do.
I was actually just talking about this on the last episode is that, I was always doing in-person podcasts. And then during the pandemic, it's like my life became living in a computer and a phone. And I find that to be a big challenge, especially with comedy. It must be incredible to be able to travel so much. Like, would you say that's a big positive or negative of the comedy, all the travel?
Oh, I don't mind traveling at all. I don't mind. What I mind is packing and unpacking and packing and unpacking and washing and packing and unpacking and packing and washing. That gets on my nerves. That drives me insane. It's like doing a big jigsaw puzzle every week. Did I remember this? Did I remember that? You know, am I getting low on this? I refill that.
Never
and
ends.
All that kind of stuff. That does get on my nerves positively. But I don't mind travel at all.
When you first started comedy, were you more so located in one spot, or were you constantly going to different cities to do shows? Because did you start in LA or was it somewhere else?
No, I started in the Bay Area. Well, I started in Long Beach. Then I moved back to the Bay Area where I was from. And I did a lot of comedy in the Bay Area. And then there was a point where I moved to Los Angeles 20 years ago. But when Comic View started, which was the first national television show for Black comedians.
Right.
I was living in Oakland still, and I flew to LA to tape. But like I said, 20 years ago, I moved out here, and I've been here, been based out of here ever since. But I don't do much comedy in Los Angeles, because Los Angeles is a showcase town. You can't really make the money that you want to make, that you can make on the road. You can't make that in LA most of the time.
It's more about stage time and exposure in LA.
Yeah, and I don't need that.
That's it, right? So that's exactly the thing. So you're never really in the Comedy Store scene and stuff like that, I would assume then.
Not a lot, because I'm gone Thursday through Monday.
Right.
So I only come home on Mondays, and then I'm tired. And I usually go out maybe on a Tuesday. Like if I get home Monday and I'm not tired, like if I was just in Vegas or something an hour away,
right,
then I might go out on a Monday and go to, the Comedy Store. Or if I don't have a Sunday show, I might go to the Laugh Factory or something like that. But usually I'm kind of tired, and I'm usually flying from the East or way in the deep South.
So time changes.
When I get home. Yeah, and then plus I want to not talk. I've been talking all weekend. And with COVID, I'm not trying to be around any extra people, If I've just been around 1,500 people all weekend, when I come home, I'm not trying to jump back in another crowd of people. I need to rest my voice, rest myself.
100%. You got to recuperate. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on the current sort of LA scene right now? Because we're seeing a lot of the younger people, like the Brendan Traubs, the Bobby Lees, getting really big and sort of becoming these. It sort of seems to be a changing scene, at least at that sort of part of the LA scene. I mean, what are your thoughts on all of that?
Well, it's the difference between, it's like the difference between Public Enemy and, like Pop Smoke or something like that. It's generational. Rest in peace, Pop Smoke. I'm just saying that, there's comedy purists and there's people who are in it for the money. The people that are in it for the money are, I believe, are a lot of, not all, the younger comics. They're in it. They can make a quick buck. They can get quick fans. They can get popularity. They can get women. They can do all that type of stuff. They don't watch the documentaries. They don't know who people are. They don't know where comedy came from. They don't know where phrases even came from, like punchline. They don't even know where that came from.
The classic stuff.
Right. They don't know. And they don't care. So that sort of hurts me, because I came, through, Paul Mooney and Dick Gregory and Richard Pryor and George Carlin and Robin Williams and all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And so I'm more of a comedy purist, and I delve and I deep dive into documentaries and how did they get started and stuff like this. But I think that, and I could be wrong, and like I said, not all, because, the youngsters may or may not watch this interview and they go, she's just a hater on the young folks. I'm not. I'm just a comedy purist, and I like to know the history of things, and I'm very connected to people who did it before me, longer than me. I don't even hang out with my peers very much, because I can't learn anything from them. We're in the same boat. I hang out with people that are older in the game.
And that's who you've always followed too. And it's crazy to me that a lot of these guys wouldn't care when they're standing on the same stages that, Kinnison was on and all these different guys. I mean, that's
one of my
insane.
favorites. Oh my God. Yeah. One of my favorites
Incredible, right? Just like
Yeah,
the energy coming from that guy. I mean, and I really respect that about you, Luenell, is that you really are like sort of a comics comic. And that's really, I think, a big one. So I mean,
that's a beautiful compliment, and I thank you for that.
yeah, no, 100%. It's very, very true. So I mean, so would you say that maybe a guy like Brendan Schwab, for example, because I've been seeing online, people are basically, I mean, I understand criticism, but people are trying to say that his special is maybe one of the worst of all time to be made, and really panning him. Do you think that's unwarranted, or do you think that something like that is warranted?
Well, I haven't seen the special,
Right. Okay.
so I can't speak on that.
So maybe about them. Okay. But maybe not just him,
What
but
do
I mean,
you think? What do you think?
I don't know what to think. I wish I had a clip
Okay,
of
you
it
can
pulled up
tell me
here.
off. You can tell me off.
I'll tell you. Okay, we'll tell each other off the air, and we'll do
Okay.
that.
Okay.
How about Katt Williams? I'm curious about sort of your run with him, and how did you guys exactly connect? What was the circumstance with that?
Well, we met many years ago, like probably 17, 18 years ago in Oakland, California. He was living in Oakland. I was living in Oakland. And we, were both on the comedy circuit in Oakland. And we just became friends. We're more friends than the comedy was just another part of our friendship. We're friends first. If we never work together again, we'll continue to be friends,
Right.
And then he moved to LA before I did. And when I came down here, he was already popping at like a couple of the casinos and stuff like this. The comedy clubs, Cat in the Hat. Before he, people called him everything before they called him his real name.
That was his name, Cat in the Hat?
Cat in the Hat. Then when he did Fridays, they were calling him Money Mike. It took a long time for people to just call him his regular name,
Interesting.
Yeah, we're really good friends, and I love him dearly, and he's done a lot for me. And I think that's great because, sometimes you can be peers with people and one of you get put on and everybody doesn't reach back and get their friends,
Yeah.
And he don't. And Katt has a thing where he'll reach back and get some partners, but he'll put new people on as well.
And he keeps building.
And he always promotes females. And a lot of guys don't do that.
Yeah, no, that's true. And it seems like also he seems to speak for a lot of people who may not be in the position in the business to say some of the things that he says and raise awareness about. I mean, knowing him, does that seem to be important to him even off camera? Because I mean, he seems to care about sort of representing people and sharing that type of stuff.
Yeah, he's a people's comic. We don't.
Yeah.
We work in the industry, but we don't really care that much about the industry as we do about the people. Because when the industry turns on you, if the people don't, you can still eat.
Right. Which is something you've talked about with your fan base.
Yes, I have a tendency to not always do the right thing industry-wise, and I'm very opinionated. And I, sort of identify more with the, as they call the underserved class, middle and middle class people, working people. I don't I have bougie affairs I go to. I don't schmooze around with the bougie people. I don't like the fakeness of it all. And I tend to not be able to hold my tongue all the time, like don't ask me stuff.
If you don't want the answer.
Want to know. Right. Just I'll agree, and I can sit in a group of people and go, oh, okay. But then don't ask me. Because if you ask me, then I'm going to tell you how I feel. And it may shock the room, and I don't care,
That's it. And but that's speaking from the heart, right? Which is something that's very challenging to do in this business.
No, it's not challenging at all. It's just if you want to play the game. I don't play the game well. I've learned to play it, but I just don't play it well. I don't have a poker face, and I can't really hide my disdain for certain comments or certain people, or some people might say something and everybody might let it go, but I'll be the one to me. What do you mean by that? Well, what are you saying? you
Yeah.
know?
You know what
And
you
then
said.
I'll hit them up and then they get uncomfortable and they're, and all that. And I don't care about that either because nobody's tying you to any event. You can always get up and leave. I can leave or they can leave
That's
or
it.
whatever like that. I just don't care. I know that I have to walk around in this city.
Right.
And the people that come up to you and hug you could as easily come up and assault you or talk bad to you. So being that I have to walk around in the city as a person, I'm more probably catered to speaking on behalf of the people that I associate with,
No, 100%. That's a good point, actually. I was wondering, did you see this video today of Boosie Badazz at all?
No, I'm afraid not.
So
tell me about it.
Unfortunately, he got stopped up in Georgia. I guess he moved out to the country in Georgia, and he got
First mistake.
Okay, why is that a mistake?
Georgia.
Okay, well, I didn't want to jump to it, but I'm like, hey, it's tough, right? Because he was saying in the video he feels like he's been basically stalked by the police. He's being stopped multiple times per week. So you're saying that's because he's over there.
Well, maybe. I mean, surely Los Angeles does not have a gold star reputation for the police.
Yeah.
But I think that and this is, I don't want the people in Georgia to get all in an uproar. You asked me how I feel, so I'm going to tell you what I think. I think that for a lot of people, Georgia is the land of opportunity. There's a lot of Black businesses in Georgia, and real estate in Georgia is cheaper than California for sure. They also have property taxes that go up every single year in Georgia. Nobody's talking about that. And then the racism is palpable to me in Georgia. It's a little more discreet out here in LA. It's still here. But, you will quickly get your ass beat in California in certain areas with certain behaviors.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that won't happen in Georgia, but I think that my people live in Texas.
Right.
I would never live in Texas. They have laws in Texas that I don't agree with. And they don't have delivery weed service in Texas like they do in California.
So that's out for me for sure.
I have an app on my phone. I can have weed delivered to my door.
Yeah, weed maps.
That's a big thing. People, some of the older people who may watch this, they're like, weed, everything based on weed is a calming effect.
Absolutely.
On a lot of people, it's medicinal. It was here before we were. It's, go to Jamaica and tell them not to smoke weed. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. We have those receptors for a reason in our brains.
And I like it. So
that's it.
I think that he probably, but he seems kind of country himself. So, I think I would have thought it would have been a good fit. There's a lot of rap artists who live and thrive in Georgia. But maybe Boosie's doing things to attract attention to himself, like wearing $750,000 worth of jewelry and at noontime, It may impress us, but the police are going to be like, look at that.
Sir, this is a Wendy's,
Yeah.
No, that makes sense. And I mean, listen, we wish him the best. I think he's wildly entertaining. And I don't want anybody to be harassed by the police. But you talked about this sort of when you were filming Borat too, that the areas you went to, you felt like there was palpable, and you were saying too, like the racist instances were not staged.
Oh, no. There was only 4 real actors in Borat. Well, 5 if you count in the special features. Because there was an actress from Baywatch in the special features that was not in the regular movie. There was only 5 actors in that movie. Wow. Everybody else was exactly themselves. And the thirst to be on television is what let them sign a release saying, yes, you can film my bad behavior and you can broadcast it. So they weren't hiding their racism. Those frat boys on the bus, that wasn't staged or made up. Those people in the homes that we went to, that wasn't staged. That's, how they really, the politicians and the nasty, that was
Yeah.
real. That's the point of Borat. People think he just went out to make a comedy. He did not go out to just make a comedy. That was a social commentary, pulling the sheet back, if you will, on the racism and intolerance for everybody in this country, gay people, handicapped people, minorities, women. That's why it was so brilliant.
Yeah. So, I mean, and I mean, especially with Borat Too, the way that he continued it.
I didn't have nothing to do with Borat Too.
You didn't see it?
Yeah, I just didn't have nothing to do with it.
I understand that because
I wasn't in it. I was going to be in it. I was supposed to be in it. Something happened. I wasn't in it. And I'm fine with it because I sort of, I don't know if I'm biased. I sort of like the first one, better.
Were you surprised about the outcry against it? Because it seemed like there was a lot more controversy, more so around the political aspects than the comedy.
No, I was not surprised.
I guess it's not that surprising in this day and age, right?
Right.
I mean, how do you feel about it? Like, how do you feel today, just where you're at now, like in terms of the climate of things? Do you feel like things are okay, sort of like politically? And I mean, just how do you feel about things right now?
I feel like we're living in a garbage can.
Wow.
I feel like we're buried under piles of garbage. The corruption, the sexism, the racism, the elitism, it's disgusting and grotesque. How can you have places like Kensington Place in Philadelphia,
Oof.
which is nothing but a trash can full of severely mentally disturbed and drug addicted people, right in the shadow of schools and apartment buildings, and that's okay? How can you have the Skid Row of Los Angeles in the shadow of high rises being built? They're building high rises, not doing enough to get people mental health and shelter. Tupac said it best, when he talked about, that this is just, he spoke a lot of things about that. Like, how can you sleep at night knowing that 5 blocks from where you live, there's women and children being raped and sodomized on the street, and they're on drugs and they're mental, and,
It's hard to even fathom, and you've always been a big fan of POC, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I know you like POC, Prince. And you always wanted to. Oh yeah, you got the Prince tattoo. Look at that. When'd you get that?
I got it I got it after the George Floyd revolution started, because Prince had a band called The Revolution.
Yes.
So I got this for Prince, but I got it for more than Prince. I got it to remind me that I have, in my lifetime, I've lived through a revolution that didn't come to any resolve. This revolution did not solve anything.
Right.
We're still in the same place that we were, and even some of the brainwashed Black people were surprising. To see Black people going out with black paint and throwing it on the yellow Black Lives Matter that was going down the middle of the street. It was wretched.
So that was them protesting Black Lives Matter? Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And then to have a reality star voted into political office, the highest office in the United States of America, and have him make an entire shit show of our political system and provoke an insurrection on the Capitol by white people who their main goal is to keep America. When he said make America great again, he really meant make America white again. Because had there been 700 Latinos that ran up on the Capitol, it'd be 700 dead Latinos. If it would have been
Wow.
700 black people, it'd be blood in the streets. But these people have people on the inside of the Capitol that helped them come in there. And it was by the grace of God and a black man who led the crowd away from where the politicians were. God only knows what would have happened.
What could have happened? That's a big fact. You know, I actually had a guy on this podcast. He was the singer of a very popular metal band, Iced Earth. He was on the show a couple of years ago. He actually he raided the Capitol that day. He was part of it and he got basically kicked out of the business. But like, it's insane. I mean, I live in Canada, so like, I'm sort of just watching. Yeah. I mean, listen.
I'm sorry you had to see this.
Yeah. I mean, listen. But at the end of the day, I get it. You know, and we got our own problems here too. That, you know, it's just here. It's undercover. We keep our problems secret in Canada.
Yeah, you don't hear about. Oh my God, they just the police are shooting black people in Canada. You don't hear that.
You don't hear a whole lot.
I've been to Montreal. I performed in Toronto, and you know, I know that Montreal is a little more white because it's more French.
Absolutely.
Toronto. If people knew how many black people was in Toronto and Jamaica, you know, I felt like I was in LA, you know,
100%.
But you don't hear, you know, this. And then, you know, my daughter she's a dancer and she just came from her first European tour. She was in Amsterdam and Dublin, Ireland, and Portugal. And we were just talking about the free healthcare that they have over here. They don't even care that we have healthcare over here. You can die in the street. Nobody cares. And now you can't even get an abortion in certain places, you know? So they're going to send us back to the backstreet abortion clinics, you know? So your rapist, now you have to have your rapist baby.
And I mean, it's again, it's hard to wrap the mind around, I think. And, you know, I'm looking forward to chatting more about this I'm trying to find different guests as well to continue to bring on who are, you know, like yourself, who can actually, you know, who are in the middle of things and we can hear from their perspective. It's always what's Luenell up to, not how's Luenell doing. You know what I mean? So we got to ask the right questions over here. You know, I'm curious. I've heard you mention Pete Davidson in a very positive light. I personally think he's hilarious. I'm a big fan. What are your thoughts on the Kim relationship? Are you surprised that this is sticking? Because this is remarkable in a way.
Well, I've never seen Kim with a white man, so that's the first thing.
That's remarkable. First off,
I was like, wow. And I think the thing about Pete Davidson, I met him when I worked with Chappelle at the Hollywood Bowl. I wasn't there the night he got attacked, but I did work with him that week. I think the thing about Pete Davidson is it proves the power of a sense of humor. That you can laugh the panties off of anybody with a good sense of humor. I think that if you do a poll these days with women and ask them what's the top 5 things they need to have in a mate, I think the sense of humor is right up, right near the top. And I think that she has been through a lot with Kanye, and I think that she needed a break and needed to have some fun and needs to loosen up. You know, Kim's wound up pretty tight, you know, and if he can loosen her up and they can have some fun, then more power to him, you know? Yeah. I know that it doesn't always work the same for women. Like a woman can be attracted to a humorous man. Right. But men are not always attracted to humorous women, especially if they don't have a big personality, you know, and it takes a lot for a man to go out with, like me, for example, because, you know, we will get interrupted at dinner. We will be stopped in the parking lot. People will be trying to talk to your woman. But that's no different than if you were dating Pam Anderson or somebody. You gotta get used to it. But
or the male equivalent, right? Like a Drake figure or whoever. Like, I mean, I think it's just you draw, but that's part of the arrangement.
Yes, but male comics tend to have better home lives than female comics do.
Better home lives. Well, why do you think that is? But because of the women who come to them, or other factors?
Well, there's groupies for men and women in comedy for sure. But I think that also just the fact that men are always the ones to go out and go to work, go on the road, join the military, go touring in a band. And when daddy has to sit at home, and I'm not home for Valentine's Day, not home for Christmas, not home for New Year's, not home to hold your dick for you on your birthday. You know, men can only, leaving a man at home alone for a long period of time is like leaving the iron on or leaving the water running.
Not to be trusted.
It's a disaster.
It's like an hourglass that just tips over.
Only it's not how, it's when.
When.
Yeah.
No, that's a great point. You know, the last main thing I really wanted to ask you about was, you know, you mentioned Dave Chappelle. Obviously, you've had a relationship with him for a while. Obviously, we saw him get attacked at the Hollywood Bowl. We've seen, obviously, what happened with Will Smith. We all know about that. Not to rehash that situation, but the question is, what are your thoughts on the precedent that this sets moving forward for comedy? How do you think that this affects things moving forward?
Well, there were people being attacked on stage before Will Smith and Dave Chappelle. Let's be clear.
Okay, very true.
They just weren't as highly publicized. Okay. Mm-hmm. I think it always comes down to the venue and the security. There is no way that man should have been allowed to get on stage with Dave Chappelle.
No.
Even the security at the Oscars, there's no way that an audience member, Will Smith or anybody else, should be allowed to get out their seat and walk up on stage. Somebody should have stopped him.
Yeah.
And the guys that I know that have been attacked in clubs, they want to put it on the comedian. It's never on the comedian. It's always on the club. The clubs do not have security for the comics. They only have security for the box office. Because they don't even protect the audience members against each other until it's too late.
Just to guard the cash is what they have.
I've been bitching about that for over 10 years. Everybody that knows me knows I've been saying there's no security in the clubs, and no security in the clubs, and no security in the clubs. Some of these clubs are packed so tight that if there was security and they're in the back of the room, by the time they were able to get to you, you could be stabbed 25 times.
That's a fact.
Unless you have security on the stage with you, they can't get to you. Some clubs are like almost sort of in the round, and there is no aisle for a security guy to come down. I just played one. Some clubs you're so close, people could reach out and grab your ankle.
Yep.
And that's not cool. But they don't care. We are the most vulnerable entertainers in the business. If you go see that metal band you were talking about, there's a whole moat of security between the audience and the band.
In a venue with the same capacity too. It could be a 400-seat comedy club. There's no security, but if it's a 400-seat club with music, for some reason, there's a couple guys on either end of the stage. So that you raise a very good point. So, I mean, do you think that will ever change?
The clubs don't want to talk about it, but I don't care because I've been talking about it for 10 years because it's me. So let it be known. I have a weapon on me in clubs right now. You can't see it. I didn't say it was a gun. We didn't say anything. If you come up at me, you're gonna feel something. Trust me.
And why shouldn't you?
Yeah, I have to because the club's not gonna protect me.
That's the thing, right? And again, that's something that that's one thing I admire about the States is the fact that there's a actual knowledge about, some sort of self-defense knowledge and stuff like that. Here in Canada, that's not promoted, but I know I could go on all day. Luenell, I think.
Well, they don't promote it here either, but I do.
You do, though. I appreciate you so much, Luenell. Do you want to let anybody know where they can find you? I know you got Florida coming up.
Florida, Raleigh, North Carolina. If you go on heyluenell.com, HEYLUENELL.com. That's my website. My dates are listed there. Follow me on Instagram, just at Luenell. I just spelled it. At Luenell on Instagram. I always post where I'm going to be. And I can't wait to come back to Canada.
That's right.
And if anybody out there knows Drake, tell him I'm trying to get at him,
If I ever interview him, I'll let him know.
Tell him to slide into my DMs. Okay.
Okay. He'll be watching this clip. So hi, Drake.
Hi, Drake. How you doing?
Thank you so much, Luenell.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I appreciate you very, very much.